Well, JB here from Rust, and doing a bit of a recap on the Yamaha XT660Z Tenere in the back of the van, because there's an inch, maybe 2 inches of snow everywhere. We can't ride, we can't go anywhere, so take the opportunity just to have a quick chat. So the XTs go back to 1976, a long time ago. It's about 40 years now, isn't it, I think? And this one is, if you like, the latest of the sort that came in 2008. Took the XT600 that was before it and obviously created a 660 engine, took the 5-valve head off, put a 4-valve head on in its replacement, and stuck fuel injection on it so that it was Euro 3 compliant. But as well as that, they did an awful lot of work to make this what is really kind of like a world travel bike. We have a very low power engine, really. It's about 45-46 horsepower, so it's not a great deal, and in fact in a modern context that fits it within the A2 license requirements in the EU area, so it helps for new riders. It's a bike that they can ride very early on in their careers, very handy. But as I said, Yamaha tried to make this a travel bike, so we've got a low power, easy maintenance engine. It's actually got 2.9 litre oil capacity, which is quite generous, to say the least. To get that, there's oil in the frame and there's another little tank somewhere, but that allows it to run a long time on a set of oil without you needing to change it and without degradation, so the engine stays in good fettle for a long time. Very useful when you're doing long distance journeys. So we have that. We have a 22 litre fuel tank, which is huge. Yesterday we actually started with that brimmed, which was probably the least good idea I've ever had in terms of starting a rally. I think I should have started with about 7 litres and just refuel every lap. That would be better. That's a lot of weight. It's quite high actually, but it weighs it all right. Anyway, the other elements of off-roading, we have 210 millimetres of travel on the front, 200 on the rear, which is very healthy. A lot of travel type bikes, adventure bikes, come with about 150, and what you end up with there is a limit on your ground clearance. But the Yamaha, you can't see it right now because it's strapped right down, ends up with 245 millimetres, and that's quite a great deal. And this proved itself yesterday. There's a lot of deep ruts yesterday, and with the exception of one rut, we got through most of them, where I know our friend Alex, who was riding on a WR250R, runs a bit lower, was getting hooked up. A lot of people getting hooked up on the ruts, but that makes this bike a real go anywhere proposition. You've got decent suspension travel, you've got decent ground clearance, and that low power is good for just plugging away. So if you're in deepest Africa or deepest Wales, you've actually got a bike which will get you through. They've done a few things good, a few things bad. It's got twin discs on the front, and I think that's not for the performance, that's for the weight. I think that's the only way you're going to stop this thing. But of course that brings its own heaviness to that. The big downside of the Tenere is it weighs way over 200 kilos when you fueled it. She's a big heavy beast for a small single. But at the same time, if you want a big tank, if you want a fairing, if you want a decent seat, if you want all of these positives, you've got to have a negative somewhere, and that's where it's coming. I really love the fact this fairing and tank work so well. It's a narrow fairing, so even this bike had about 3 or 4 laydowns yesterday. Nothing's got torn off of it, nothing's got dented, so it's well protected, and it's got this big rubber buffer kind of thing that goes here that really helps. So between a good set of hand guards and that, you really got to work hard to damage this bike in a fall. So she's excellent, but at the same time that slim fairing does a great job when you're out on the road. It's very protective, very comfortable, and a lovely simple dash to it. It actually accommodates the rider really well. I mean, I'm going positives and negatives. If we want negatives again, the suspension, it may be 200 millimeters, but it's not the best quality. I think even for a world traveller, I would invest in a revalve, or at least respringing. It's not the highest quality. The damping is not very good, and when you hit the tough stuff, it takes the energy out of you. So if I was world travelling, I'd actually spend money on the suspension. I'd leave the engine probably okay, maybe put a lighter exhaust on it, which you can, if you don't mind moving the catalytic converter and stuff. Gains and losses there. But really, yesterday, yes, we confirmed over 3 laps before we punctured and ripped the tyre off the rim that actually the XT is very capable. I was delighted, really. I mean, there were some really steep hills we had to go up and down, where even people on EXCs were getting off and pushing, and with a judicious bit of clutch and just using throttle control, this thing got up and down them all. And that again bodes well. You couldn't get a regular adventure bike up and down those hills for sure. So this model has come to its end. It's 2018, 10 years after it arrived. Funnily enough, Yamaha have got a gap between this and its successor, which is the 700cc T7 700 Adventure, or what are they going to call it? There's still going to be a Tenere, I think, Super Tenere maybe. So it's a shame we got the gap, but at the same time, these are still around, you know, second hand, and I think for anybody who's really serious about travel, it's an excellent purchase. I love this bike. I think it's really an interesting little concept, modest yet super capable. So big thumbs up. I wouldn't give it 10 out of 10 because of the problems with suspension and stuff, but it's a solid 9. And I think, like I said, if you're really a serious traveller, it's got to be right up on the top of your list of bikes that you could take around the world. So sorry to see you go, Tenere, but looking forward to your successor, and yeah, she's a good bike. Well, that's it for our Tenere appreciation, as it were, our homage to a fantastic bike. 10 years of the 660Z Tenere. It's a fantastic bike, as I said, and we said we wouldn't go riding. There's no Hafren Rally today, but it seemed a waste of a day when you could just still get out. And that's the beauty of this bike. It's a day you wouldn't take any road bike out, and the 660 can go out. It's been up and down the lanes, tarmac on this. It's a quite secure ride, but it's a lovely, versatile motorcycle. A bit heavy. Hey ho, can't have everything, but we love it, and until the new one comes along, we're still going to love it. We'll love it after that. Farewell, old friend.